you know about exposure as a photographer is important to know in video, with a few exceptions. Today, we're talking about the exposure triangle, aperture, shutter speed, ISO, and how those familiar tools work a little bit differently when you're shooting video instead of photo. If you're a photographer looking to dive into video, you're in the right place. I'm Jen, a family filmmaker and photographer who teaches other photographers how to add video services to their business. The exposure triangle, the one you know and love. Let's break it down and compare them in photo and in video side by side so you can start shooting with confidence. If you've been photographing for any length of time, you already know the exposure triangle. It's how you balance the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO to properly expose an image. But when you move to video, the triangle behaves a little differently. Why? Unlike photo, which captures a single moment, video is a stream of continuous images, usually 24, 30, or 60 frames per second. Let's explore each piece of the triangle to see how video changes the rules. Let's start with aperture, probably the most familiar of the three. Whether you're shooting stills or video, aperture controls two things: exposure, how much light hits your sensor, and depth of field, how blurry or sharp your background looks. In both photography and video, a wider aperture like f1.8 gives you that creamy bokeh and lets in more light. A narrow aperture like f8 or f11 keeps your scene more in focus but lets in less light. The key difference? In video, you might lock your aperture for an entire shoot. You're not adjusting it shot to shot like you would in a portrait session. And wide apertures in video could make it harder to focus because your subject is moving. With today's mirrorless camera autofocus systems, you may be able to get away with a shallow depth of field if your system is advanced, but especially if you're going to rely on manual focusing, upping your aperture to f4 or f5 usually gives you a little bit more leeway. Here's where things change: shutter speed. In photography, you can shoot fast at 1/1000 to freeze motion or slow to 1/10 to blur water. You're in control. But in video, shutter speed is tied to frame rate. The rule of thumb is your shutter speed should be double your frame rate. So if you're shooting 24 frames per second, you should be at 1/50. Why? Because it creates natural motion blur. If your shutter speed is too fast, your footage will look jittery and stuttery. If it's too slow, it'll be blurry and pretty unwatchable. In video, shutter speed is not a creative tool, it is a technical tool. Set it and forget it. I have a whole YouTube video that dives deeper into the concept of shutter speed for video, and I'll link it in the description below. Before we move on to ISO, be sure to like this video and leave me a comment on how shallow an aperture you prefer for your still photos. Finally, ISO, your digital light booster. In both photo and video, increasing ISO makes your image brighter, but it also introduces noise. But in video, noise is more noticeable because it's not just one image, it's every frame. The grain can dance around and it can give your footage an amateur look real fast. Pro tip, with video, you really want to keep your ISO as low as possible and just light your scene very well. Quick bonus, when you lock your shutter speed for video and you want a wide aperture in daylight, you'll need one of these, a neutral density filter. It's like sunglasses for your lens. It lets you control the exposure without changing your settings. So to wrap it up, aperture is the same, but it can affect your focus more. Shutter speed is tied to your frame rate. Set it and forget it. ISO still boosts the brightness, but it does make grain more obvious. If this helped you bridge the gap between photo and video, drop a like, leave a comment, or hit that subscribe button. I've got more tutorials coming your way to make you feel at home with video and with motion pictures. See you in the next video, and happy shooting.